In a serene Ugandan forest, where the air was thick with the scent of damp, earth and the sounds of birds, echoing through the trees, Kamanzi walked cautiously, clutching an old map her grandmother had given her. The map revealed that the herb of ancestors only grew in the heart of the forbidden forest, and it was the only thing that could rescue her little brother, who was gravely ill. Time was running out. Just a little more, Kamanzi whispered to herself, pushing aside a thick branch that scratched her hand. The sunlight faded as she ventured deeper, the air growing cold and heavy. A shiver ran down her spine, but she pressed on. Suddenly, she stumbled upon a clearing. Before her stood a grand castle, cloaked in vines and shadows, its tall towers seemingly reaching for the sky, yet it felt desolate and abandoned. Her heart raced. The castle was not marked on the map. Kamanzi hesitated but decided to approach. Perhaps someone inside could lend a hand. As she stepped forward, the rusty gates creaked open on their own. For a brief moment she froze but then stepped inside. The silence within was even more profound than outside. Dust covered the floors, and a strange, ancient smell filled the air. "Hello?" Kamanzi called out. Her voice echoed, but there was no reply. Even her footsteps resonated down the long hallway. At the end, she spotted a figure, a man. No, not just a man. He was seated on a grand throne, motionless, his head resting on his hand. His dark robes blended with the shadows around him. And though his face was pale, it was strikingly beautiful, almost too perfect. "Excuse me, are you alive?" Kamanzi asked softly, stepping closer. His eyes snapped open, glowing a fierce red like fire. She gasped and stumbled back as he rose, moving with an elegance that seemed almost otherworldly. "Who are you? Why have you come here?" His deep voice echoed through the hallway. I didn't mean to disturb you," Kamanzi stammered, gripping the map tighter. "I'm not looking for trouble. My brother is very sick, and the herb of ancestors is the only thing that can save him. The map led me here." He studied her intently, his red eyes narrowing. "You shouldn't be here. This forest is cursed, and no one who enters leaves alive." "I don't care," Kamanzi declared, surprising herself with her boldness. "I must find that herb. Please, I need your help." The man frowned, stepping closer. His presence was overwhelming, as if he could crush her with just a glance. "You don't understand. This forest holds more than just curses. It harbors monsters, and worse than all of them is me." "What do you mean?" Kamanzi asked, confusion mixing with fear. He looked weary, as though he had been burdened for years. "I am cursed. If anyone touches me, if anyone kisses me, they fall into an endless sleep. This is my punishment, and I will not let you become my next victim." Kamanzi's heart sank. "But you are awake. Doesn't that mean the curse can be broken?" He shook his head. "No, I stirred only because your presence disturbed my rest. Leave now before my curse consumes you as well." "I can't leave. My brother doesn't have much time. Please, I'll do anything. Just tell me where to find the herb," she pleaded. He scrutinized her, his red eyes studying her face. Finally, he spoke. "You are either brave or foolish. Very well, I will take you to the herb, but only on one condition. Once you have it, you must leave and never return." "I promise," she replied, relief flooding through her. "Thank you. Good. Follow me and do not touch anything or stray from the path. If you do, you won't survive," he warned, turning away. As Kamanzi walked, behind him through the dark halls of the castle and into the forest beyond, she noticed how lonely he appeared, like someone who had lost everything. Who was this man? And why did it feel as though their meeting was destined? The path ahead was treacherous, filled with shadows and strange sounds. But Kamanzi pressed on, determined to save her brother. The silence between them was uncomfortable, so she broke it by asking, "What's your name?" He didn't look at her immediately, continuing to walk with heavy footsteps. When he finally spoke, his voice was calm yet deep. "I am Omara, the cursed prince of this castle. What is your name?" "Kamanzi," she replied nervously. He regarded her with his bright red eyes, seemingly pondering her name. It's a simple name, but it doesn't seem to fit someone so complex. Kamanzi felt a flutter of warmth in her chest. "Why would you risk your life for someone else?" he asked, curious. "My brother is all I have left. I would do anything for him." "Wouldn't you do the same for someone you love?" she replied. Omara paused, the castle growing even quieter. He turned to her, his red eyes filled with emotions she couldn't comprehend. "Love is something I lost long ago. I am cursed to never have it." Kamanzi's heart ached at his words. She wanted to ask more, to understand why he was so sad, but the sorrow in his eyes held her back. They walked in silence, both lost in their thoughts. After a while, Kamanzi broke the silence again. "How much farther? The heart of the forest is close, but the path is treacherous. You won't like what lies ahead," he he replied, not looking at her. I didn't come here for pleasure. I came because I have no choice, she stated, trying to be brave. Suddenly, Omara stopped, and she nearly bumped into him. Everyone who comes here claims they have no choice. They all have something to lose, someone to save. Do you know where they are now? Kamanzi swallowed hard, feeling nervous. Where are they? They are gone, he replied simply. Taken by the forest, taken by their own greed, taken by me. His words sent a chill through her. I'm not like them. I didn't come here for greed. I came for my brother. Omara looked at her, doubt flickering in his eyes, but he said nothing and continued down the dark hall. They reached a winding staircase, and as they descended, the air grew colder. Smelling of wet earth, Kamanzi shivered and pulled her coat tighter. Why does this place feel so alive? She asked, her voice shaking. Because it is, Omara replied calmly, though there was a warning in his tone. The forest feeds on life, fear, and hope. It will test you. What does it want from me? She asked, feeling anxious. It wants everything, Omara said, stopping at a door. He placed his hand on the cold metal handle. Now let's go. Without waiting for her response, he opened the door, revealing the outside world. The forest looked different. The trees were taller, their branches twisted, obscuring the sky. A strange, glowing light illuminated the ground, as if the forest itself was alive and watching. Stay close, Omara instructed, his voice low. Kamanzi nodded, hurrying to keep pace with him. The ground felt soft and spongy beneath her feet, and the air was thick, making it hard to breathe. Do you know where the herb is? She asked, her voice trembling. Yes, but the forest won't make it easy. And neither will I, he replied, his expression serious. What do you mean by that? Kamanzi inquired. He stopped and faced her, his red eyes serious. The curse doesn't spare anyone, not even those I care about. You should have left when I told you. His words stung, but Kamanzi stood her ground. If you didn't want me here, you wouldn't be helping me. For a moment, Omara was silent, contemplating her words. Finally, he ran a hand through his dark hair. You are different, but that doesn't guarantee your survival. They ventured deeper into the forest, where shadows grew darker, and the trees whispered secrets she couldn't understand. At one point, the path vanished, forcing them to push through thick bushes and branches. Omara moved with ease, as if he were one with the forest, while Kamanzi struggled, tripping over roots. Why does it feel like the forest hates me? She asked. It does, Omara replied without looking back. It hates everyone who comes here, but it fears me. How lucky for me, Kamanzi muttered under her breath. Omara glanced back, a small smirk playing on his lips. Careful, Kamanzi. Sarcasm might make the forest hate you even more. Despite her fear, Kamanzi couldn't help but smile. After a while, the trees parted, revealing a narrow ravine. At the bottom, she spotted a faint glow. As she approached, she saw the herb of ancestors, its golden petals shimmering like fireflies. There it is, Kamanzi exclaimed, her heart racing with hope. But Omara's expression turned serious. Don't get too excited. The herb is guarded. Guarded by what? She asked, confused. Just then, the ground trembled beneath them, and shadows morphed into terrifying shapes, their glowing red eyes fixed on her. Stay behind me, Omara commanded, stepping in front of her. Suddenly, he was no longer just the calm, quiet man she had followed. He exuded a powerful aura. Dark energy enveloped him, and with a wave of his hand, the shadows recoiled. But they didn't disappear for long. The monsters lunged at Kamanzi, their claws scraping and growling, sending chills down her spine. Go, Omara shouted. Get the herb while I hold them off. With no time to think, Kamanzi bolted down the ravine, her eyes locked on the glowing herb. The monsters seemed to disregard her, focused solely on Omara, who fought them with a strength she had never witnessed. When she reached the herb, she snatched it quickly. But as soon as she did, the monsters turned their attention to her. Omara! She cried, panic rising as one of the monsters lunged at her. Its claws slashed across her chest, and pain exploded within her. The world began to spin. Hold on! Omara shouted, his voice filled with fear as he rushed to her side, hovering his hands over her wound, trembling as he tried to help her. Did I get it? She whispered weakly. Omara glanced at the herb in her hand and nodded. You did. A soft smile graced her lips, but her eyes began to close. Why? She murmured. Kamanzi, Omara called out, fear lacing his voice as he knelt beside her. Blood seeped from her wound, staining the ground. I'm fine, she whispered, even as her vision blurred and the world spun around her. No, you are not fine, Omara insisted, his voice trembling. His eyes, usually fierce, now softened with emotions she had never seen before. Please, I can't lose you. Even if this curse hurts you, I can't let you die. Before she could respond, Omara kissed her. In that moment, warmth enveloped her, and she felt as if she were floating. The world around her faded into silence. When Kamanzi opened her eyes again, Omara stared at her in disbelief. "You are awake," he whispered, amazed. "Of course. Why wouldn't I be?" she asked, confused. His hands trembled as he cupped her face. "The curse. You should have fallen into a deep, eternal sleep. But you are different." "What does that mean?" Omara's voice cracked. "It means you are the one, my bride. The one who can break this curse," he declared. Breaking the curse was no simple task. The witch who had cursed Omara appeared, her anger palpable as she realized her spell had been disrupted. "You dare defy me, Omara?" she hissed, her voice seething with rage. Omara stepped protectively in front of Kamanzi. "This ends now." Together, they confronted the witch. Omara unleashed his dark magic, sending powerful waves of energy toward her. Kamanzi didn't know how, but after the kiss, she felt stronger than ever. Something within her awakened. As the witch attempted to cast a spell against them, Kamanzi raised her hands. A brilliant light erupted, harmonizing with Omara's dark magic. Together, they pushed against the witch's curse. "You can't stop us! We are stronger together," Omara shouted. With one final surge of energy, they combined their powers. The witch screamed as their magic struck her, breaking the curse she had placed on Omara. Her form dissipated and the curse was lifted. Omara's dark crimson eyes transformed into a warm amber, his sharp features softening. No longer a cursed prince, he was now a man freed from his chains. With the curse broken, the dark, gloomy castle radiated with light. The twisted forest outside began to bloom with vibrant flowers and greenery. Omara turned to Kamanzi, his eyes filled with love and gratitude. "You saved me," he said, taking her hands in his. "I think we saved each other," she replied with a smile. Omara leaned closer, his voice soft. "Will you stay with me as my bride, my queen, my heart?" Tears filled Kamanzi's eyes as she smiled and nodded. "Yes, always." As Omara kissed her again, warmth spread through her body. She pulled away momentarily, feeling a rush of emotions. "Omara," she said urgently, "I want to stay with you, but my brother is still sick. I need to take this herb to him to ensure he gets better. Can you take me back, please?" "We need to hurry." Omara's eyes softened, and without hesitation he replied, "I'll take you back, Kamanzi. Your brother will be healed, and we will ensure you are both safe."